Um, Today I'm going to talk about mindfulness, which I think I've talked about before. Probably didn't use that term because a lot of people sort of have an impression about what it is, um, that they think, ooh, that's when you sit there and you imagine the beach and blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. That's relaxation techniques. That's not mindfulness. Mindfulness is actually being in your body at that moment and not thinking about the past or the future. So that's why it's helpful to people with avoidant personality disorder, because you get caught up in these ideas and then you get stuck thinking about those ideas. And um, I, okay, I doing this. Oh, I need to shut up again. I have no right to talk about this, and why am I repeating myself? Anyway, so I suppose I keep. Okay, I'm just gonna say, here's like a trigger warning. Sorry, I generally avoid that crap, but um, just to let you know, I mean, um, as far as being mindful, I think that it probably happens a lot more often than people realize, and they just put it into their regular life. Again, it's the opposite of a distraction. A distraction would be like, oh, I'm going to pick up my phone and watch something. It's actually being in your body and aware. Um, some of the things that I've done to trigger it is back in the day, 100 years ago, not 100 years ago, but back in the day, I used to be a cutter, and I wasn't doing it for attention. I wasn't doing it out of self-loathing, believe it or not. I wasn't doing it as a suicide. I was doing it. It makes me nervous to put this up here because I'm not recommending this in any way, shape, or form. I'm just telling you the effect it had. The effect is that it would just completely stop all the thoughts in my head. It would be this surge of pain, and then boom, all the crazy thoughts that I couldn't get out of my head would stop. Now, there's lots of other ways to do that that are much more healthy, like exercise. But again, that's sort of dependent upon exertion and pain. You know, you put yourself out there when you're exercising to such a massive degree, it will cause you to become, one with your pain at that point, and forget everything else that's going on. It's one of the reasons why it's really effective. Yeah, one of the videos that I really need to put back up is the one where I explained why exercise works when medications don't, for people with personality disorder. The other thing that worked for me was I feel like I've talked about this already, but so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. But what really worked well for me as a mindful trigger was candle scents, which they've proven over and over again. Smelling something can basically bring you to a better place or help you remember stuff that's going on. Like, for instance, if you use a certain smelly ink when you're studying for a test, and then you take the test and you smell the same ink, it'll help you remember what you were studying. I think this is really shaky too. Sorry about that. Anyway, so what I would do is I would get a pair or 3 different scented candles, and first I would burn them only when, like, the mood that I wanted to repeat I was having. So like if I was happy or if I was calm or whatever, I would burn these 3 scents, and then I would train myself to see when I was starting to get going, and I would burn the candles, and I would smell them, and it would sort of pull me back. Now, I can't, in a million years, I wouldn't have thought that would work. It's crazy. I tried, I did try DBT. I don't know if the videos are still up or not. I'm going to have to check. Anyway, I did do DBT. I did half of DBT. I did not graduate DBT because I couldn't get through the part with the interpersonal communication. Wonder why. Anyway, but then this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts, and it's kind of embarrassing to talk about. Like, what? But, and again, for everybody else has, they have a different reaction. But for me, and this is really specific, but I don't know why this worked, but it really, really, truly worked. It totally stopped all these thoughts. Was if I would color a picture with crayons, again, because it was basically a total immersion of all the senses that I could possibly force myself to go through. Color a picture with a crayon and listen to somebody talking, like podcast type thing, about whatever the subject was, or like reading from a book or something. So like I would color a picture of a field of flowers and hear somebody describe it, and it would completely take everything all at once, boom, and stop the thoughts. Don't know how that works. My son, specifically for him, is cold temperatures. He can reset himself, and apparently there's some sort of like actual physiological thing. It's probably a self-preservation instinct. So if he gets like douse his face in cold water, we're talking like ice cold, not like lukewarm, but like cold water. Like the crap they show on TV all the time. People do that. That's actually supposed to work. Doesn't work for me. Works for my son. Who knows? It might work for you. The other thing, I've described it before, where like I really can force myself as if I'm driving someplace and I'm super anxious about it, and I will be like, okay, I'm going to grip the steering wheel a little bit harder than I normally do so I can feel the vibrations straight up from the road into the wheel, and that will I can focus on that, where it's probably not something I should admit, that I'm not always like totally focused when I'm driving. I'm not. I go to the same places over and over again, so I sort of know my way. And so I just sort of zone out and start thinking about stuff I need to do and stuff that has happened and blah blah blah. And that's not good. So that's the thing about what mindfulness really is. It's pulling yourself out of the situation that you're stuck in, some sort of thought cycle. You can't give it up, and makes you really truly think in terms of what's physically happening exactly at that moment to your body. And again, pain can do it, and also overwhelming your senses can do it, and it takes practice. And it took me months to figure it out, like 3 or 4 months. And it also takes a little bit of like a leap of faith to try it. But this is the one reason why I'm sort of like, well, I'm being repetitive in the channel. But of all the things that somebody who has avoidant personality disorder could do that would possibly make an actual impact, that's a big one, is being able to pull yourself back into the here and now and not be focusing on stuff that's happened in the past or doing all this mind reading and trying to figure out what's going to happen in the future. But to actually stay in the actual, real, physical here and now. And the buzzwords are annoying. Be in your body and all this other crap. And I really wish that there was a way that I could convince everybody. Maybe I already have. Maybe I'm beating a dead horse. Sorry. That ignore the buzzwords. Definitely, and ignore all this, hyped up crap that's, being mindful and all this. This is complete bull. The stuff that they've got. I mean, it's to the point where they basically need to come up with new terminology. Because what you see in, media, etc., of what mindfulness is, it's kind of like, this is also cheesy, but the idea, somebody pointed out to me, the idea of a soulmate is, which is actually sort of once somebody becomes really good friends in avoidant personality disorder. I mean, that's sort of like what happens, is people become that important. But because of that, then you get all, this fabulous wedding, business model. It's totally tainted the term. It's taken away from what it was to be just another word for partner. No, there's actually a real definition behind that word, and I did have to have it sort of smashed into my face for me to realize that, because I didn't like the term. I was like, anyway, but the same with mindfulness. It's like, are you kidding? I'm not gonna do some hokey, yoga crap. I'm not gonna do some crunchy granola, vegan dogma. Mindfulness. Which I probably just offended a whole bunch of people. But seriously, that's the thing, is it yokes it all together as a lifestyle. Being mindful is not a lifestyle at all. Not in the tiniest, slightest bit. Because that would be crazy if you were going to be mindful as your lifestyle forever in all moments. Because that would mean that you really truly would have no ties to the past at all, and no future at all either. You would literally be in that moment of your life forever, with no past and no future. That's what being mindful is. And so that's why you can't have that as a lifestyle, but that's why it's also so effective for people with avoidant personality disorder to sort of take a break from their history and their emotional baggage and all that stuff, which is another buzzword, sorry. But, so it's like a short, tiny little respite. Doesn't last long. It can be effective if it's not overused, if it doesn't become your lifestyle. And I would really strongly suggest everybody that can study it, figure out how you can incorporate it into your life, especially look for the warning signs that you need to use it when you're like getting to the point where everything is overwhelming you, but it's not like, it's more affected by stuff that hasn't happened or happened in the past rather than what is actually happening at the moment. So if you can make that distinction and learn how to shut it down, hopefully in a non-painful way, it really is a good gift for yourself.